Hi, I'm Taylor. I'm the farm manager at Rooted, where we enable people to grow and thrive in healthy, equitable, and sustainable neighborhoods. We're at Troy Farm today, where we're going to show you how to do transplant production so you can get a jump start on your garden this year. Planting into different sized trays is an easy way to start your plants indoors. We have a lot of different size trays for different sizes of plants. A general rule of thumb is to use a smaller tray for smaller vegetables and a bigger tray for bigger vegetables. Each of these trays has a certain number of little cells in it. So when we say a smaller tray, we might mean one like this 288 cell tray, or a 128 cell tray, a 72, or a 50 tray. You can buy your own potting mix or make your own. Here at Troy Farm, we buy soil in these really large totes, and this will last us for the full season. In the past, we have made our own. You can find a recipe online. All of these recipes will have components that are easily available at garden centers. Here we're filling up our trays just with our nice soil. We're filling them full. We don't have to make it too perfect because we're just gonna put stuff in it right away, but just kind of level it off. And then we're gonna put those trays into these trays. Before we plant, we need to put some holes into our trays, and you can make a tool on your own at home, or an easy way that we do it, because we do a lot of trays at one time, is to take a full one, line it up with the one on the bottom, and then we'll just press down. And when you take it off, you have a nice little hole that you can put your seed into. And for most of our seeds, we do it this way, but there's a few, like a lot of the herbs, where you just need to press them directly into the soil, and you don't need to bother dibbling. So if you wanted to make your own dibbler at home, it's kind of an easy thing to do with some pieces you can get at a hardware store. You need any kind of flat surface that you can drill a hole into. We've just used some screws and some nuts here, and see some regular door handles. And this serves the same purpose as using a tray. So we'll just press down with our dibbler, homemade dibbler, and have some holes. Another option, the easiest and most economical option, is to just make some holes with your finger. Not all the way down, but just press down a little bit so that your seeds have a nice little bed. Could be therapeutic if you like poking holes in things. Now we get to plant, and the first thing we're going to do, now that we have our tray ready, it's dibbled, we're going to put a label on it so that we remember what it is as it's starting to germinate. And as it grows, you know which variety is which. There's a lot of ways you can do it, but we like to just put the name of the vegetable, and then its variety, and the date that we started it. When you're doing your labels, it's important to note that we work in a pretty wet environment, and you're going to be watering your plants multiple times while they grow. So having a waterproof label, kind of see where that just got wet, works really well. So these will stick on throughout the entire season. And also key is having a waterproof marker to write on, because pen will just wash off or get faded out by the sun, and then you're going to be confused about what you have planted. Take it from experience. Alright, so we have 3 options for seeding. We can hand seed, which there's always the option of picking up a seed and just dropping it in your tray but that is pretty time consuming. So we have this nice hand seeder tool that you screw this top off and you pour your seed in, and that has different settings depending on how big your seed is. And this just really helps you meter out your seeds as you're going through. Because we just want to get one seed into each cell. So we'll just tap in one seed at a time. This is our Vibro hand seeder, which is like this one, but it is power operated here. It's all about finding the right speed. If you're doing a lot of seeding, we have our vacuum seeder. So our vacuum seeder is also gets plugged in and has a little vacuum pump with a filter inside of it, and you can see the hose that runs through and trays that fit into the seeder, and each tray has a set number of holes in it that line up with our the trays that we plant our seeds into. So this one has 6 holes this way and 12 this way, so we can get 72 seeds. Wassenado kale. So to use the seeder, you'll dump out a bunch of seeds right onto the tray, and then just kind of shake them around so that you get one seed per hole. The way the vacuum seeder works is that it'll suction the seed to this top silver tray. And then you can drain off any excess seed that you don't need. You always want to start with a lot, so you make sure each hole has one seed in it. And now you'll turn over the machine so that you'll line up each of the holes in the vacuum seeder with one of the cells of your tray. Give it a little pat to make sure all the seeds come off, and sometimes it works better than other times. Ideally, each of your seeds will drop into the hole, but just give it a quick scan to make sure everything worked okay and fill in any holes where you may need to. We're going to top it with our topping mix with a mixture of our soil and perlite, which is this white flaky stuff. So a mask really comes in handy when you're working with this because it is very dusty. So we want about half and half, and then you just mix it all together. And this is what's going to go cover our seeds. And this perlite, vermiculite, you can really just get at any garden center. Most places sell it. You've probably seen it in a lot of home potting mix. And you don't need a lot. You don't want to mount it up too high, otherwise your seeds are going to have a really hard time coming up. So just, a little across the top to level it off. You want to give your seeds a good soak before they go in to germinate. Gentle spray. Our trays of seeds are ready to go into the germination chamber. Here at Troy Farm, we have this structure built into our greenhouse that stays temperature controlled, and it provides a nice warm little cave for all of our precious seedlings. It stays moist and humid in there, so they'll stay in here until they start to pop out. Inside the germ chamber, we use a water trough heater. This is connected to a thermostat and allows us to heat our water, similar to how you'd keep a horse's water warm throughout the winter. This heater heats up the chamber, and as it does so, the evaporation keeps it moist inside. Generally, seeds really like warm temperatures and moist conditions. At home, you can recreate a germ chamber by keeping your seed trays near a heat vent or a well-lit window, really any place where they can stay moist and warm. You might want to consider using a heat dome on top to allow the light in. Inside our greenhouse, we'll use a heat dome on some of our sensitive herbs like thyme and oregano and mint that need a lot of light to germinate. Make sure to read the instructions on each of your seed packets so you understand the temperature, the light, and the moisture content that each of your seeds needs in order to germinate. Once things start germinating, make sure to remove the dome coverings. Here at Troy, our greenhouse is heated by a propane heater. We also use fans that help circulate the heat throughout the greenhouse. In general, most plants like to grow at least 60 degrees. Make sure you give them enough light for enough hours of the day. Again, at home, you can do this by putting your seeds near a window, or if you don't have a well-lit window, you can consider using grow lights. Once up and growing, it's important to keep your seed starts well watered. While some dryness is okay, you don't want to let it get too dry for too long, especially on a sunny day. When it is sunny, consider watering twice, once in the morning and once about midday. And when you're going over your plants with your water source, try to hit a couple of times. The first time will get your plants wet, and then the second time they'll really start to absorb that moisture down into the roots. As things like peppers, eggplant, and tomatoes start to grow, we want to pot them up into a bigger container. We're going to use our fancy tool to pull out our pepper. We'll make a little hole in our cell, but we don't want to go all the way down to the bottom. We want to press our pepper in so that the roots connect with the soil below it, but not put it in too deep. And this is really going to allow our plants to have a little more room to grow. It's kind of neat to see that after just a couple of weeks, these guys already have some roots popping out of the bottom. We're going to throw just a little bit of that topping, our vermiculite mix, on the top again. Just to tuck them into bed here. And then we'll give these a nice good watering and a sunny spot to continue to grow in. So after fear of frost has passed, you want to start the hardening off process. This is just the transition from our nice warm inside temperatures to outside temperatures. If you put your plants in the ground directly from the greenhouse or from their warm spot by a window or vent, they'll go into a bit of a shock and may not take in the ground well. So to overcome that, you want to start transitioning them outside into cooler temperatures so they can start acclimating until you're ready to put them into the ground. Thanks so much for joining us here at Troy Farm. We hope you learned a lot about getting your seeds going. If you want to find out more about Rooted or Troy Farm, visit us online at www.rootedwi.org or school4urbanag.org. We want to know how your growing season goes, so find us on social media, tag us, and have a great growing season, and hope to see you in the garden.
Yeah, I'm so terrible.
I never had that